But sometimes, and a lot of times, it's just this person is like, I can't figure this out, and this, that, and that, and whatever. And they're coming at you and kind of pushing their work onto you. So there are times where coworkers and colleagues, even bosses, will go, oh, well, this person always helps out. I can just have them do it. Hey, lovely people. It's me, Jessica, corporate recruiter. Now, I tried to talk about this via StreamYard. It completely would not work for me. So you're getting a pre recording instead of a live, but this is a part of our Quiet Quit series where we're talking about ways to keep ourselves from being in a place where we want to quietly quit. Now, what is quietly quitting? A lot of people have different definitions of quiet quitting. Really, the main definition I would like to share today is really that feeling where you are just done with doing overwork. You're not really putting in extra. You're not really motivated to get a promotion. And typically, when folks are motivated to get promotions and things and awards and accolades, they're doing a little bit beyond what they need to do. They're doing a little bit beyond just simply their job. Sometimes they're not even really doing their job to the 100%, that they know they can do. Maybe they're given about 70, 60% of what they can do. They're just putting out the work. Hey, I did the work, whatever. I could have went a little extra, but I'm not. Or, those instances where folks are working with coworkers and colleagues and they're that person that is, as soon as it's time to clock out, they're out. As soon as there's a question about someone taking on any extra work, they're not here for it. They are, if they're required to go to any certain events, well, they're only going to those events that they are required to do. They're not going to go to any additional like team morale. Hey, we're all going together as a team or happy hour. They're not really doing that. They're coming there, they're doing their work, they're kind of checked out, like, hey, let me do my job and peace out. Am I saying this is completely wrong? Not necessarily, but the hope would be that you are satisfied at work, you are being fulfilled. And a lot of times when we're talking about quiet quitting, we're talking about people that are not really fulfilled at work. They're kind of burnt out. They're done with doing anything extra. They're just like, hey, I'm here. Let me do this quick job. Let me get this paycheck. They're in that mindset, right? So, how do we kind of keep ourselves from being in that place where we're just like burnt out and we are in that place where we're just like quiet quitting? Because the term quiet quitting really is stemming from a person that is honestly about to quit. Like at some point, you're likely going to quit. You're not motivated, you're not really engaged, you're just there getting this work done to get this paycheck, and you'll probably be moving on to something better that you actually enjoy and that you're motivated by, right? So, one of the things that I was thinking about is being too nice in the workplace. Now, am I saying, as someone that has worked in the HR space or human resources space for a while, that you should not be nice to your employees and your direct reports or your managers and your full team at work? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about people that are too nice. And there's a few different ways that I feel certain employees will be too nice, myself included. I have been there as well, where I feel like, listen, I'm being too nice. Or you could also say it this way, you feel as if you might be getting taken advantage of in the workplace. So the first tip that the first point I want to make is we should be putting limits around our work. So if you work certain days a week, or if you're expected to work certain hours on a day, you're really sticking to those hours. So if someone's coming to you with a project at 5 o'clock on a Monday and you know that you wrap up work at 5 o'clock, you're telling them, hey, I'm actually leaving, but I will be happy to meet with you tomorrow and talk about this, right? So being able to set up that expectation. We do know people that will go ahead and say, okay, I guess I got to stay later this day. They'll cancel things that they have going on outside of work to take on that work that they're being given at a time that's inconvenient for them. So really sticking to the boundaries of your work hours, The same way with folks that maybe they don't work weekends, right? And someone's asking you to work on a Saturday, you have other stuff going on. Well, some people will be really nice and say, okay, well, I'll just, I'll kind of forfeit the things that I have going on personally that I enjoy and give up this other time. But my question is, are you getting paid for it? So in some cases, it may just be overtime and you are getting paid for that and it's great. And some people love to get that overtime money, right? Other cases, maybe you're a salaried employee that it's not eligible for overtime pay and you're just taking on this work without any financial benefit to yourself. Even in the cases where it's overtime money, yeah, that's great. Is it even worth it? Do you even want to work the overtime? Sometimes people are like, look, I'm really tired or I really have to do this other thing. I really don't want to be at work on Saturday. Mentally, I was not planning to even be at work, right? So, keeping those things in mind, really setting those boundaries and limits, which you talked about last week about the boundaries at work, that being number one. The other thing that's something that I had to learn later because when I first got into the workplace, I would, you're bright eyed, bushy tail. You just kind of want to take on everything, you want to try everything, help out with everyone. But really, this next point is important because it does get into your boundaries, but in a different way when you're at work. And this one is making sure that you're doing your work first before you're helping someone else. So let's say someone's coming over to you and they're saying, hey, I really need help with this thing I'm working on, or that project that we're doing together, or my part, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me? Well, have you actually done your work? Because that can put you in a place, let's say you say yes, that's part of being too nice. You're just kind of saying yes to everything. But learning how to say no, actually, I have to wrap up some work of my own. If I can get finished with that early, sure, I'm happy to help you. But that idea of you have to wrap up your work first that you have already committed to before you try to help someone else. And I've actually seen many people do this. It's not just like there's that nice person in the office, that one person that does it. A lot of people will do this and just, oh, I'll help this person out. In some cases, obviously, you have to kind of gauge when you need to go ahead and just help someone out. If it's a really high priority project or it's something that's high stakes or, very important, you do have to engage that. Or if someone that is I don't know, person on the leadership team or executive on the team is asking this, yes, you will have to shift your priorities to take on that. But sometimes, and a lot of times, it's just this person is like, I can't figure this out, and this, that, and that, and whatever. And they're coming at you and kind of pushing their work onto you. So there are times where coworkers and colleagues, even bosses, will go, oh, well, this person always helps out. I can just have them do it. Or, you know what, I actually have to leave at 4 o'clock today, and, I just can't do this project, or maybe I just don't want to do this, and I know they might do it for me. Sometimes people will take advantage of you, so you do have to note that. I'm not saying not to help people, but to make sure you have your stuff taken care of first. We don't want to have you taking on someone else's work, or you're helping someone else out with their work, and then you're staying at work later, or you're working later hours because that took away an hour from you when you could have gotten your work done first. And then if you had time, like, hey, I got free time, let me help you out. I got you, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't be a part of the team and, help others, but your work is important too. You're important. So you have to take care of yourself as well. All right, so the next one that I wanted to talk about is about compensation. And this is a way that I do feel companies kind of take advantage of people. And it gets into that whole conversation I was having earlier about overtime. And, there are some people that are non-exempt from getting overtime pay, right? Or I'm sorry, there are certain people that are exempt from getting overtime pay and then others that will receive it. So, and thinking about the extra work that you're taking on and even just the everyday work that you're doing. And I feel like this gets into quiet quitting as well, because a lot of people, when I made the first couple of videos about quiet quitting, were making the point that they're not even paid well for their work, right? Or they're not recognized for their work. And It's something that kind of stuck with me. Someone shared, I think this was King of Kill. And you know, I mention King of Kill a lot because he's consistently sharing different articles and different videos with me. He shared this post about this man, and I believe he worked at, I don't know if it was Pizza Hut, some kind of pizza company for years. I'm talking, it had to be like at least 10 plus years or something. And wait, hold on. Maybe it wasn't a pizza company, but he worked at a company and they rewarded him with his years of service by giving him like a pizza party. I think that's where I'm getting the pizza part from. So, are you getting compensated today for the work that you're actually doing? Some people are not. And that's why they're in this place of quiet quitting because, listen, they've actually been giving a lot more effort than they really have been getting compensated for. And so they're just balancing things out now. They're just bringing it down a couple notches, matching their pay rate, right? So make the assessment of yourself, find out information, go online, talk to your peers, and find out what other people that are doing similar jobs to you, have the similar education to you or skills and knowledge. What are they getting paid, right? Because you want to at least make sure you're getting a fair pay. That is a way that people can definitely take advantage of you. And companies will do this. If you don't ask and you continue to work at a company years and years, you have to kind of figure out, hey, am I getting paid fairly? Don't always just assume that the company is naturally going to do this. Now, there are some great companies out there that will make sure that they are consistently giving you those pay increases and making sure that you're paid fairly for the work that you do, and that you're also recognized and getting increases and financial gains from extra work that you do. But recognize when a company is not doing that. That's something I had to do early on in my career when I realized I was underpaid for my work. And this gets me into my next point. Don't be super loyal to a company. And this is the other thing about the Great Resignation and why it was so interesting, because you had people that had worked at companies for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and were now saying, look, you know what? I'm out of here. I need to make a move. I need to change either for financial needs. They realized they were in a toxic workplace. They realized that they didn't really like the work anymore. So many different reasons why people during the Great Resignation were quitting their jobs. But sometimes I just think about, okay, some people getting to this 10-year and 15-year anniversary status, and they've been in a job where they're underpaid, or they're not happy with the work that they're doing, or even worse, they're in a toxic workplace. So you've just been in that toxic workplace this entire time. And why do a lot of people do this? Well, either they're loyal or they're afraid to make a move. But for the folks that are just too loyal, I say just start researching, start checking out other opportunities. It can be within your company and just within other teams. It can be outside of your current company. And just make sure that you are looking at your options, knowing that wherever you're at now, that is not the end all be all. And listen, I think when people are laid off, that is one of the things that kind of hits home. Okay, this company isn't really loyal to me because it's business, right? So for yourself, just like the company has to do what is best for the company's interest overall, at certain times, right? You have to do what's best for you and your business at specific times. So if that means you have to leave and you have to leave the people you work with, listen, you have to do that. So this is the video. I'm so sorry for everyone that had joined the live stream that was posted for this week. It didn't happen. I was having too many issues with StreamYard, unfortunately. But I hope you enjoyed this video where we're really just digging into this whole issue of being too nice at work. And yes, I do think it's an issue. What are the things that we're going to do? We are going to put time limits on our work. Again, check out the video I made about setting boundaries at work. We have to put those time limits on there. Now, are there going to be occasions where you may make a concession? Maybe there will be, but they should be very few and far between when those things happen, right? Doing your work first before you go ahead and help someone else. Taking care of yourself first, basically, before you just give up your time to someone else. And oftentimes, this is something that I heard. This lady was a senior vice president within our HR department. I think she had worked in accounting prior to that. And she told me this thing. She said, sometimes what she does as a HRBP is she will just wait. She'll hold off to respond to someone or to go to someone and answer them, because typically what happens is if you give someone a little room, you don't immediately come to them and help them out. A lot of the times what will happen is they will go ahead and figure it out. And you come back to them, you give them maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and you come to them and go, hey, I'm available now, when you're available, right? Because your time is not free. If you're not available to help them out, you're working on something, go to them once you're available. And a lot of times they will have already sorted it out themselves, right? Because here's the thing. A lot of times if you have this dependable person in the office or this really nice person in the office, and you can always go to them and they'll help you out, people get dependent on that. And so this person maybe hasn't even thought about it. And I've been there too. Like, I've definitely been in a situation where I just ask someone something because I know I can go to them and they're not available, and I just figure it out myself, right? I've even had IT issues, and some kind of way I figured it out myself because I couldn't get with IT. But that just naturally happens. So give people a space. They can figure it out. Obviously, again, you have to kind of know your audience and who to do that with and who not to do that with. But for the majority of people, right? Okay, and then the other thing that we talked about was compensation, knowing your worth and knowing the market, knowing your options, right? We talked about compensation, so I won't get too into depth with that. If you'd like another video on compensation, let me know. But knowing your worth, that's a big part of negotiation. You can't really negotiate your compensation if you don't even know what you're worth and you don't know what your options are. You don't even know if you're getting paid fairly or not, right? And the other thing to consider with that is when you're doing extra work, noting these things down, having those conversations and noting when you should be getting paid more, right? If you are taking on more and more work, or you're doing something at a level that really isn't the level that you're paid for, right? You're doing more than what your job really calls for. And then lastly, we talked about, really what I wrote down here was, don't accept scraps for your hard work. And this is thinking about that whole example that I kind of flustered through of this man basically working for years and getting in exchange to celebrate his hard work and his anniversary, a pizza party. So really knowing what you require as recognition. Is a pizza party going to suffice for you? Or are you expecting more than that? Are you expecting a certain sum of a bonus for your years of service, for your loyalty? And if you're seeing that you're not getting what your expectations are, and especially if you're seeing other people that are getting what you're expecting for your loyalty, well, then it may be time for you to explore some other opportunities for yourself where you may be better appreciated, right? Can't keep people too comfortable. You gotta, get out there and know what your options are and utilize those options, right? So you may have to make a move and know that that's okay. Some people get too caught up into the people they work with and everyone's so nice and this and that, but you do have to do what's best for you. There may be times where you have to take actions that may not seem too nice, where you actually have to leave. You can't be loyal to them anymore. Everything has a time and a place. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to close out this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, lovely people.